Hello, and thank you for joining our live, interactive telephone town hall with Pennsylvania Labor and Industry Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. My name is Dirk, and I'll be today's moderator. The goal of this event is to provide you with helpful information and to answer your questions, as well as update you on Pennsylvania's unemployment benefits programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. As mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live during this event. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll take down your name and where you're calling from, and if you're a reporter, the media outlet you represent. The next time you hear your name, you'll be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. If you're streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. Again, to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. We receive a lot of questions on our live events, so if we're not able to get to your question, please send us an email at uctownhall@pa.gov. Let's begin with opening remarks. Secretary Oleksiak, we'll start with you. Secretary, are you muted?
I was. I'm sorry. I wasn't muted, and I went there. I'm sorry. Thank you, Dirk. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks, and we welcome those who have joined us. Just want to provide you with a few quick updates on our Pua Program, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and then I'll turn it over to Susan because we want to most of the time for your questions. As you know, there has been a scam throughout the country with fraudsters applying for unemployment compensation through the Pua programs and receiving it. Once we became aware of it through our own investigations, we have been working with state and federal agencies to put a stop to it. We have implemented additional safeguards in our system and are doing various things to check applications, but we won't be providing any details on that, obviously, since this is an ongoing criminal investigation. The scammers are using individual identities and personal information that was stolen previously from outside Commonwealth systems. We want to stress that no labor and industry systems or data were compromised, so our systems have not been compromised. And we will continue to provide updates regarding payment methods and other important information as that's needed. The other issue related to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is backdating. As you know, Pua is a brand new federal program that was created for individuals who are self-employed, independent contractors, gig workers, and others who are not usually eligible for unemployment compensation. We worked with an outside vendor to build the system we needed to build in Pennsylvania, and we continue to work with that vendor to make the necessary updates and improvements to the system that will allow those of you who have been unable to file backdated claims to do so. We are in regular conversations with them, and we want to get this done. We know the only people more frustrated than our staff it would be you, who are the ones who are having difficulty with this particular situation, and we want to take care of this as quickly as possible, and we will share updates on this as they become available. Susan, who is with us, Susan Dickinson, will provide some more specific information on the backdating and things that you can do in the meantime, and we'll also provide some important updates on the PEUC program, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, which extends benefits for people who are receiving unemployment. So with that, I will turn it over to Susan. Susan?
Thank you. So what I'll do is talk a little bit about each program, what's happened in the last week, what might be new. Starting with regular unemployment, the good news is we've recruited and trained a lot more help with our unemployment emails to our uchelp@pa.gov account. So this week we started seeing a little increase in the amount that we're taking care of every day, whereas it used to be 3,000 or 4,000. Now it's been about 6,000, and we expect that to go up every day. So we will be, be able to handle more emails, especially because we have a system now which consolidates all the duplicates from all the same accounts. So that is making good progress. Right now, if you look on our website, it says the oldest email or the longest response time is 57 days. And that doesn't mean, that's not an average. That's not how long it's going to take you to get a response necessarily. That's just the absolute worst case scenario, maximum number of days. We actually don't expect any messages to take quite that long to look at. And also, there are messages. Some of you have very simple inquiries and requests. A lot of people, when we look at their email, whatever they're asking about has actually already been resolved. So it's just occasionally there are complicated cases which may take us a little more time to address. So that's moving in a good direction. So it's still a good way to a good method to be able to get in touch with us. Again, not necessarily a quick method. We may not get back to you within the next few days, but at least it saves your place in line so that we will get to your inquiry, especially if you're looking for back weeks or something like that, and be able to address it when we do get to you in line. For PEUC, I want to make sure everybody who is still within your benefit year, we have set up a PEUC claim for you, and your weeks are available to file now. So the past few weeks, we've advertised, file for your weeks, but every time we're having system issues. So this week, we definitely are not having system issues. It's working. Payments are all being made. So if you have a PEUC claim and you haven't received any payment yet, which, if you had reached someone in our offices, they may have paid your weeks manually for you. But if you had just simply filed online and you wondered why there was no payment, you can check right after this call. Either go online or call Pat and file for your weeks. And now, payments should be ready to go. You should make every effort to file by tomorrow before the weekend, and make sure that you claim all of your weeks there all the way back through. For some people, it'll be all the way back through April 4th. For others, it may be a little bit later if you still had your UC claim happening, and then it picks right up right after the week that your UC claim ended. So for individuals who your benefit year had ended and you have to apply for PEUC, if you have applied on our website in the past couple weeks, or perhaps you've sent in a paper application, we are in the process of setting up those claims. We had to make sure the weeks were set and available for filing, and that whole process worked first before we could, set up your claims and make sure that's working. So now that we know that the weeks are available for filing for existing claims, we can set up the other claims. So we'll be setting those up. You'll be receiving a financial determination in the mail, and you can start claiming your weeks. If you've sent us one 2 weeks ago or even early this week, you can log in starting this Sunday, and your weeks will likely be there. If you just mailed us a paper application, say like yesterday or today, they may not be ready by Sunday, but you should just continue to try logging in every day or so and see if there are weeks there available for you. For the Pua program, as the Secretary mentioned, there's a lot of things happening with that. There is a lot of fraud happening, which I'll address in a moment. And we also have the system issues we've been experiencing with being able to have people file for back weeks. Usually the situation is you were able to file for a week right in the beginning, but it was your last week that you were actually employed. So when you indicated that, it then shut down the rest of your weeks. So we're still working with our vendor on that. We thought we were a little further than we were, but the solution isn't quite ready yet. So what you can do in the meantime is send just one email to ucpua@pa.gov and explain that you're in this situation where you're looking for back weeks to file. And as staff get through those emails, they will contact you and they can take those, they'll ask you all of the questions over the phone for those continuing weeks, and then they can make payments for you. Hopefully, because we do have a lot of emails in our Pua account, and so they are, and that's a smaller staff than the regular UC staff, there is a chance that we may actually come up with a solution with the vendor and implement it first. But at least if you send an email, as I mentioned with regular UC, that gets your place in line. So then you're ready. If someone gets to you first before we put a fix in, they'll be able to call you and handle that. And then you can get your payments. We are hiring and getting help from other agencies, especially for the Pua program, also for the UC program. And we're trying to shift individuals around and cross-train them so that they can help in other ways. So over time, the Pua program will get more help, especially on the phone line. We're, looking to seek, we're getting individuals who will be able to quickly take those calls and learn the Pua program pretty quickly, and then they can start helping with your inquiries if you're calling the Pua line, as well as more individuals to help with emails. And there is a lot of background work that happens, just like with regular UC claims, where there's individuals who need to, examine your eligibility. Sometimes they'll have to call you, ask questions, make sure that you do qualify for PUA, and then they issue determinations. We call them our examiners. So there's a whole crew on Pua, and it is growing. I do want to mention about especially the Pua program, but for any program, of course, now that Pennsylvania is opening up more and more businesses are reopening, they may not be 100% where they were prior to the pandemic, but they are reopening and slowly, offering more hours to their staff, or maybe calling some staff back and not others. Be sure that when you are filing for unemployment that you are reporting any work that you performed. So when it comes to reporting your earnings for unemployment, it's not based on when you receive your paycheck, it's based on when you did the work. So if you, worked X number of hours this week and, you know that you make a certain amount of money per hour, you do the multiplication, and then that's the amount that you report to us as your earnings. The only exception is those who are self-employed and are on the PUA program. The concept is the same, where you're still reporting your earnings as earned and not when you receive the actual pay. But the difference for you would be that you're reporting net earnings instead of gross earnings. So if you're self-employed, you want to make sure that whatever revenue you get, you then subtract the expenses and then report that to us. That's the only difference between you and a standard employee type situation. For PUA, the program is, it was completely designed for this particular pandemic. It's not a program that's ever existed before. It's not a system that's ever existed before. It's a brand new system for us. So make sure, if you are still filing for PUA, even as things are opening up, that you are still unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. So when you open your claim, there was a list there that asked you why you're unemployed. Is it a direct reason of the pandemic? And then there was a list of maybe 12 or 15 different things. That all came from our federal guidance. And it's all reasons that you may be eligible for PUA. For example, if you've come down with COVID-19 and your physician, told you to isolate for 2 weeks. If the state government or federal government has guidelines which prevent you from going to work. So I want everyone to keep in mind that those still apply. So at any time, if those reasons for unemployment no longer apply to you, then you would not be eligible for PUA anymore. However, if we do owe you any back weeks, you can still claim them. Even if you go back to work full-time now, if you've been unemployed these 2 weeks, and say you're in one of those situations, these 2 months or 3 months, and you're in one of those situations where maybe there were some weeks missed and you didn't get to file for them, you are still entitled to those. Those were in the past and you were unemployed for those weeks. We will make sure, that we capture everyone who's in that boat to make sure everyone gets their benefits. if you return to work full-time now, of course you wouldn't be unemployed for weeks now and moving forward, but we still can pay you benefits for the weeks in the past where you were unemployed. So everyone will be made whole, as we say. And again, I encourage anyone who needs help with PUA to just send a single email. No need to send duplicates to ucpua@pa.gov. And the last thing I'll mention about Pua before we switch over to questions is that all of you on Pua have noticed that you are getting checks in the mail. That's our temporary fraud prevention method and has been working well. So for now, we are sticking with the checks. We may make some changes in the future. We'll try to keep everyone apprised. We have, all of the email addresses, and we send everyone a mass email whenever, something is going to change. So we'll make sure that that way. We also advertise on our www.uc.pa.gov website. So make sure you're watching there. We're doing what we can about fraud. We are working with other states, other agencies to try to put in other preventative measures. So we'll make sure everyone stays apprised of those. And that is all I wanted to share with you for this week, everything that's new this week. So we can then turn it over to taking questions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Susan, for all that information. And just to clarify something I spoke in the intro, we do receive a lot of questions during these events. If you're not able to get to your question today, please send an email to uchelp@pa.gov. Again, if we can't get to your question during this call today, email uchelp@pa.gov. And we've got Joanne on the line, our first question. Joanne, go ahead. You're live. What's your question?
Yes, thank you very much for taking my question. I exhausted my unemployment benefits in the beginning of September of 2019. My base year was over February 15th of 2020. And I had remembered back last year getting a letter saying that I could reapply for unemployment after my base year expired. Well, in beginning of March, I applied for unemployment. I received my financial determination. It said that I needed to proof of wages, which I didn't have. So then I've been just waiting to be able to apply for PEUC. Well, in the meantime, I saw a post online and somebody mentioned something about checking claim status, which I didn't know you could do. So I went in and looked at that, and it said that my claim was inactive and told you how to reactivate it, reopen it. So I did that on May 7th. And then my sister, who's in the same predicament as I'm in, told me that to get PEUC, if your base year has come to an end, that you need to reapply for unemployment. So I reapplied on the 9th for unemployment. I think I've really complicated things here. So I'm don't know what to do at this point. Also, I saw that you can check your benefit payments and so forth. So I just went in to look at that, and last week had all my information from my claim that was from February of 2019 to February of 2020. Now, as of this week, it says that no payments have been made in the last 4 weeks. So I'm kind of panicking a little bit here, and I just don't know what to do. I can't get through on the phone lines either. But thank you.
Hi, Joanne. So since you have online access, you'll be able to apply for PEUC online. It's not our regular unemployment application. You wouldn't want to fill that out. What you do want to do is
apply.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have on a specific PEUC application. It's just a couple questions, and you submit it. So good. So if you've done that, then you're on your way. As I mentioned a little earlier, we're going to be starting to build all those claims, but possibly even tonight, if not tonight, maybe tomorrow, all the applications we've been collecting over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. And so those will start getting set up, and then you should try to go in on Sunday and file for your weeks. See if your weeks are there and available, and then you could start filing for your biweekly benefits.
Moving next to Nick. Nick, you're on the line. What is your question?
Great. Thank you, and good afternoon. So back in March, I was salaried at full-time when I lost my child care. I exhausted my PTO, and basically I had 2 options. Either I lose my job or I drop down to part-time hourly. So I opted for that, and on April 12th, I filed for partial unemployment. I received the financial determination paperwork and my PIN number, and then I filled out the direct deposit information, and I didn't hear anything since. April 29th, I sent an email. I got nothing. Then I found out that I could check the status of my claim. So I checked the status, and it says there's an issue that needs to be resolved. I sent another email, unfortunately, again on May 24th, and I haven't gotten anything back. I can't get through on the phone lines. The live chat doesn't really seem to work too well either. And our local career link is closed to the public, so we can't utilize those phones that get right through. So I just don't really know what to do now. Should I just wait, I guess?
Yes. So it sounds like if you have an issue on your claim, that's something that an examiner would be looking at. So you'll receive like a questionnaire in the mail. You'll have to fill out the questionnaire, or someone might try to call you. We find we try to call first, but we find a lot of people don't answer their phone. They think it's a spam number or something, so we will send something after that. It sounds like you have tried every avenue, which is good. I mean, if you sent an email, that's your place in line, so we'll definitely get to the email. I know you said you had some trouble with live chat. I would encourage you trying with that, only because we did add 100 new staff. I think that was last week. And that one is also open later hours than the phone. That's open from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. So that might actually be your best route. And it's very interesting. Like, some people tell me they've been able to call us and chat with us and all sorts of things. And then other people say, I haven't been able to get a hold of you anyway for weeks and weeks and weeks. So it seems like the same people are getting through all the time. It's weird. So, but anyway, but that would be my recommendation. As you know, you've already sent an email, so that's good. Now, try the live chat, or if you do want to try a traditional phone call, later in the week is better. So Thursdays, Fridays, those are definitely the best days to get a hold of us. But it does just sound like your claim is in the queue for an examiner to look at whatever issue it is that was raised on your initial claim, and then issue a determination as to whether or not you're eligible. That's what that sounds like.
All right, next up, we've got a question from Tim. Go ahead, Tim. You're live on the line. What would you like to know?
Hi, good afternoon. And first, thank you guys for setting this up and creating this town hall call. It's pretty cool. I just wanted to thank you for that. My question is, do you guys have any intentions of changing the way the PEUC is being paid out, like you have changed the PUA? That's one question. The other question is for the back weeks. So if we don't go back and reclaim them, it's not like we lose them. We only get 13 weeks anyway. So that'll just extend the length of the benefit. Is that true?
Yes. So for that last part, the 13 weeks is for, that's just your maximum benefit amount. So that's your weekly amount times 13. So that could be longer for people if, for example, someone was working part-time, so they were getting partial payments. It'll go longer. Or, mean, we have an option in there when you're filing where you can decline a week. So if you declined a week, that just skips the week for payment, and then you can move on to the next week. So, that's an option there. Now, regarding the method of payment, right now there's no plans to change the method of payment for PEUC. It'll be whatever was used on your regular UC. It carries over onto PEUC. and it's also, biweekly filing just like regular UC.
Okay, great, Ben.
All right. So not only do we have a lot of folks on the phone line ready to ask questions, we got a number of people who have submitted questions on the web. Nikitha has a question. Nikitha is unable to claim her back dates. I pressed the backdated button, and I cannot claim or file for any weeks. What do I do?
It sounds like that is the PUA program because we have a dashboard for claimants there where there's a lot of different functions and things you can request. So there is a backdating request button, and once you complete that, what it does is it puts you on a list that the staff run, and when they run this list, they then go through and they process, they approve the backdating, and once the backdating is approved, you would be able to file for the weeks. Now, I know that related to the issue where people are missing back weeks that the system won't let them file for, sometimes it creates a complication. So if you're looking to just backdate weeks, but you're in that issue or you're in that situation where the back weeks weren't offered, that may not be a simple backdating issue that you may think. Because there is an actual problem with those weeks and the system being able to offer them for you. But in any case, it puts you on that list where the staff work through, and when they see individuals who are in that situation, they'll simply call you and ask the continuing claim questions so that they can submit payments. And just so that everyone's aware, a lot of people are possibly looking for, 7 back weeks, 8 back weeks, 9 back weeks. And for every one of those weeks, the staff have to ask you all the continuing claim questions. So it's going to be a very long phone call. I'm just warning everyone. So for each of those weeks, they'll be asking all those questions, but then at least they can submit the payment. Hopefully we get some movement with our vendor and they can put in a math fix to just make the weeks open, and then everyone will be able to go online and file.
Thank you very much for that. And we'll continue with another web question. And Kimberly online states that Sunday she learned she had exhausted her initial 26 weeks with only a 1-week claim. Will she be automatically enrolled in the extension of 13 weeks? And should she file this Sunday since only 1 week was granted in her biweekly claim?
So actually, depending on the timing, you may find that you are able to file for weeks right now. I would recommend after we get off this call that you log in and see if your weeks are available, because that's kind of a tricky situation since we're in a biweekly filing cycle. Everyone expects to keep filing 2 weeks. However, if the last week of your regular unemployment claim is an odd number, so it's 1 week instead of 2 weeks, that means you're going to have to file a week early, and now you have a new biweekly cycle. It gets complicated. It's hard to describe verbally. I love when we can put things on our website that show calendars and visuals as to how this all works. But that's all. So if your last week of your UC claim exhausts, it generally takes 2 days for the PEUC claim to be set up. So you won't be able to go in right away and file. You have to wait a couple days. It'll be set up, and then as soon as this Sunday hits, you would want to, the first Sunday after you've exhausted your claim, you would want to try to file then instead of waiting 2 weeks as you would have normally. So it's always, because it gets complicated, it's always my advice to just, for everyone who's seeking PEUC, just go in each day just once, just to see if you can have any weeks there to file. Once you first file for your weeks on PEUC, then you can resume a biweekly filing cycle. But it is tough to tell because our system is so old and there is no type of dashboard or anything where you can go to look to see if they're active. It is good to just log in and try to file them every day until you can get in.
Thank you. So another one from the web, Arieli asks, do we have to send our documentation like ID, Social Security card, or other to make the process faster?
It sounds like maybe that is the PUA fraud issue. And actually, yes, if you have those documents, you can upload documents to your PUA dashboard. And that way, when someone comes across your claim, instead of having to contact you and ask for those things, it'll already be there, and they can just, take a look. And, once they verify that you are you, they can remove the hold on the payment. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that we don't hold payments indefinitely. We do release payments on PUA, even if we're holding it to check your identity because of this fraud situation. We only hold it till the following week, and then we release the payment. So we're not going to, if it takes us 6 weeks to check you, we're not going to hold your payment for 6 weeks. It's going to go out every 2 weeks, kind of like regular UC. You can continue filing for your weekly claims, and we're just going to release them every 2 weeks.
All right, let's go back to a live phone caller. We've got Tanya on the line. Go ahead, Tanya. What is your question?
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my call today. Actually, I have 2 questions. Currently, my fiance and I work for a bus company, and during the summers, we normally collect unemployment. So my first question is, how is this all going to be affected, and are we going to be eligible for unemployment for the summer of 2021? And then my second question is, my fiance is currently, he was collecting unemployment, regular unemployment compensation. His claim ended on 5/30/2020. When he goes in to file a biweekly claim, does he claim it under the normal UC website, or does he actually have to apply for the PEUC, or is he automatically enrolled in it for the extra 13 weeks?
Okay, so for the first question, regarding being a school bus driver and eligibility, if you've been eligible in the past, because it gets sticky when it comes to schools and anything related to schools, because there's this provision of our law called reasonable assurance. Pretty much if someone is guaranteed a job and the summer is just part of their regular schedule to have off in the summer, many times those individuals will be denied because they have reasonable assurance, as we say, to have that job again in the fall. Now, in your case, since you said you've been, approved before, so, if reasonable assurance doesn't apply to you and you're set, normally in the summer, I don't see that it would be much different this time. The summer is the same all around. We kind of are looking at that the same when it comes to educational calendars. For example, teachers still, teachers who have reasonable assurance, they get a salary throughout the year, even though they're not working in the summer, they're usually not eligible. So we're kind of back to the regular old summer schedule and expectation. If you're on PUA right now, all that means is that if you can qualify for regular unemployment, then that is where you should be. You should try applying. So depending on when your last claim ended, because you can't have a claim before your last claim ends. Once your regular unemployment claim ends, I would reapply for regular UC. And then if you are financially eligible and otherwise eligible, you will continue on regular UC. You stop filing your PUA claim and just continue on regular UC. If you're determined ineligible for regular UC, you may continue on PUA. But, every eligibility determination is on a case-by-case basis. So the best way to get it going is just to, file for regular UC, and, anyone will be in touch with you as they need to be from there. And then the other part of the question was about PEUC. So if you had exhausted May 30th, I think you had said, so we're just within that first week. If he exhausted with 2 weeks, now it depends on what you mean by exhausted. So if he simply ran out of money but is still within his benefit year, then that means that he likely already has a new claim set up, and that weeks will be available for filing, 2 weeks at a time. So if he exhausted with 2 payments, Again, it gets tricky when you get an odd number of payments versus an even number of payments. So if he exhausted with 2 weeks of payments, then he will be able to file not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. If he exhausted with 1 week of payments, he should try to file this Sunday. Now, if his benefit year ended, like the actual year is over, and it's been a year since he last filed a claim, what we usually do is we test people for new claims. So we would want to know if he was available for approved for regular unemployment first. But if he is not financially eligible or otherwise eligible for regular UC, then the PEUC, he would just have to do a PEUC application. I know it sounds very confusing. There's so many different unemployment programs we have right now. We do have on our website, www.uc.pa.gov, some guides to show, if you're on this program and you can qualify for this program, this is where you should be. The federal government gives us direction as to in what order we must pay claims. So if you can qualify for regular UC, you must be on regular UC. If you don't qualify for that, you get PEUC. If you're out of money there, then you move on to extended benefits, which is a state program that is sometimes active. And if you don't qualify there, then PUA is a last resort type of program. It does get very confusing. So I recommend everyone to kind of read up and understand, their rights and responsibilities and knowing which program they should be on.
All right, next we've got a question from Michael. Michael, you're live on the call. What is your question?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes. My question is this. I had filed for unemployment back in March, and everything said that I was cool. I've been filing my biweekly claims and said that it's been going through, but I have not received any money. And my neighbor, who did the same thing, but 3 weeks after me, has started receiving his. I was wondering if I should get rid of the direct deposit that I have set up with it and go with the card instead, if that'll go faster or not.
So the method of payment doesn't really make too much of a difference, only because they're both, whether it's a direct deposit or a debit card, it's an electronic payment. So, of course, that's going to go a little bit faster. It sounds like there may be an issue on your claim, and I don't know if you've been able to log in. Someone had mentioned earlier how she logged in and checked the status of the claim. It'll tell you if there is an issue there, which has to be resolved. Since you filed back in March, I would think that someone would have started addressing it already. But just in case, it's always a good idea to just send an email to our uchelp@pa.gov account. Just one email and just state what that you haven't heard from anyone and that you're wondering where your payments are, because it sounds without seeing your claim, so of course I don't really know, but it does sound like there may be an issue that we have to examine and issue a determination about.
All right, we've got another question from the web. This one's from Chris. Considering the uncertainty about employment for substitute teachers in the fall, can substitute teachers sign up for UC over the summer?
Yeah, so anybody, in no matter which type of unemployment situation you're in, it is best to just file a claim and then let us address whether or not you might be eligible. Every situation is different. It's very, humans are very non-cookie cutter. Everyone's got a different situation happening. So it's best, if ever there's a question and you're uncertain about whether or not you might be eligible, certainly read up on our website, but, I wouldn't disqualify yourself. I would definitely file a claim and then let us look at the situation. As I was just mentioning, the whole educational institution piece of the law creates confusion. It is tricky. So, if you're a substitute teacher, you don't have necessarily a reasonable assurance that you will be employed in the fall, then you may possibly be eligible for benefits. So I just recommend filing a claim and letting us look at the situation.
Thank you very much. Next, we've got a question from the web. John wonders, with regards to PUA weekly back payments, do you use the icon that states request unemployment claim backdate, or will there be another icon just for submitting requests for back week payments?
So there may not be a separate icon for requesting those back week payments. As we're working with our vendor, what we ask them to do is they just run a query to find everyone who's in that situation. So if they see that someone had a claim, the effective date was, say, back to mid-March, or they may have filed for 1 week in mid-March, but they didn't get a payment. There's certain parameters that we give them where they're going to proactively find you. I don't quite know what the outcome is going to look like yet. I'm thinking there won't be a button to click, but maybe there will be a special button. It may just be the regular login. If the weeks are just available for you to file, it might be the regular login. So at this point, we don't know for sure, but we'll make sure that we send out an email to everyone who has a PUA claim and make sure everyone understands. We'll also add it to our PUA website. That's our regular website /PUA, so www.uc.pa.gov/PUA. And get the word out once we do have a solution there, and we'll be able to let individuals know what it is they have to do to get these weeks.
All right, going back to live caller questions. We've got Jerry on the line with us now. Go ahead, Jerry. What is your question?
Thanks for taking my call. We drive school bus also, and normally we just collect in the summertime. If our AB date is about to expire at the end of June, do we just do a initial claim again, or do we do the PEUC? How does that actually work for us then? Thank you.
Sure, Jerry, thanks. So what you should do, if your benefit year is actually over, you should just file a regular UC claim and see if you're eligible there. And, you'd likely, if it's been your regular year, you end up in the past that you've been eligible every year, you're likely to be eligible again, and then you would just, continue on that. The only time you might be eligible for PEUC is if you're seeking unemployment now or for back weeks and you didn't have any money left on the account, then that's when you would want a PEUC claim. If you were within your benefit year, a claim should have been set up for you. What we do is our system looks for individuals who are within the benefit year but have run out of money, and it sets up a PEUC claim for you. And then all you have to do is go in and file for your biweekly claim. So if that situation describes you, you might want to try logging in and seeing if you can file for biweekly claims. If that doesn't describe you and you didn't have a PEUC claim set up but you are seeking one, you may certainly apply just like an individual would have if their benefit year had been over. But when it does come time for your benefit year to be actually over, you would want to go the route of regular UC first, and you'll be set up on a regular UC claim, and then you'll just continue there.
Next up, we've got Kimberly on the line with us. Kimberly, what is your question?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Hi. This is regarding PUA. So I filed for PUA. My account has been active. I've been filing weekly certifications and been receiving payments fine for state and federal. However, when I went to file this past Monday, though it still said active, when I went to file, it stated that I had to reactivate my account. And then once that, so I had to completely fill out the application all over again. And now I have to wait a week before I can file another weekly certification. I just wanted to know why I had to complete the application all over again from scratch when there was no gap in my filing weekly certifications from week to week.
Susan, are
Hello?
you there?
Hello, here I am. Sorry about that. So, Kimberly, so thank you. It may have, so if you haven't been claiming any, if you haven't been having any earnings any week, then it should not have asked you to reopen, and I'm not sure why that would be. If you had reported earnings, though, I know it's been, it's a new system and we're still getting used to it too, and how it functions. It wouldn't really necessarily be a reactivation of the claim, but I think that's how this system is kind of handling it. Usually when someone reports earnings to us and then it's followed by a week with no earnings at all, it's just a situation where we have to ask, why are you fully unemployed, whereas last week you had some earnings. We just have to find out the reason and make sure it's a legitimate reason for being unemployed. So that's one of the only things I could think of. If you had, reported some earnings, I know that's causing this system to ask for additional information that maybe in our regular system we wouldn't ask for, but it's set up in a different way. Other than that, I'm not really sure why it may have happened. I do know a reopen pretty much does ask you all the same questions because we have to know all the same information, and it is a long application. So, I made a little note of that here. I'm going to go back and see if we can find anyone else in that situation. So thank you for that. And hopefully, once you do go to file your weekly claim, it will give you the proper weeks. If it does not, then just send an email to ucpua@pa.gov, and an individual will be able to straighten out your claim and certify your questions for the week that's missed.
Next, we've got Dante on the line. Dante, go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, how you doing? This is for PUA regarding PUA. I clicked on the back week or back date link that's on the website, and once I clicked on that, now I'm not able to file for any future weekly certifications. It's just been stuck on this screen. I guess it's saying that I have to. It's under review or something like that. It's been stuck like that for weeks. Do you know if there will be a fix for that soon, or do I have to call somebody, or does somebody have to call me, or how will I be able to get that issue resolved?
Hi, Dante. Yes, someone will call. I don't know if they'll necessarily call you. They may just email, or they may not need it if they have the information they need. What that does when it asks you, or when you request the back date, it then waits for someone to approve that before it lets you do anything else. So that's why it's kind of stuck where it is. So if you've used that backdating button that's on the dashboard, then that means that you are on their list that they're running. It's a really long list because of all the individuals missing the back weeks that in that situation where they have to file for some back weeks. So they are addressing each of those and calling each person and going through all the continuing claim questions. So they will get to you. If you are worried, you can send one email to the ucpua@pa.gov account. Just to make sure, but yeah, if you've used that function, then you are on their list and they're going through it.
Next up, we've got Heather joining us. Heather, you're live on the call. What is your question?
Hi, I'm wondering. Okay, I'm on PUA, and you have said that everybody's going to be getting checks in the mail for that from now on. For my last 2 weeks, I have a payment date of June 2nd and June 4th, but I haven't received anything yet. But my TD bank account, I have, for the past 4 days, have had 2 deposits of $0.00 from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for unemployment claim benefits, it says. So I'm just wondering if you're sending checks or if you're checking my bank account or what's happening there and when I will be getting paid for my past 2 weeks.
Hi, Heather. That is an excellent question, and I'm very glad you asked that. That is a good point to share. So I'll address the payments first, just going by check. So if it shows on your dashboard that you have payments issued, I think you said June 2nd and June 4th, those are going by paper check. So those would have been, printed by Treasury this week and will be dropped in the mail, and then you should probably receive them sometime next week. They'll be paper checks. But for the $0 deposits, I actually just had a meeting yesterday and learned about this and what's happening. And it is a system issue with our PUA system where so normally when you're opening your claim, we ask you, what's your preference for getting paid. And individuals who give us their direct deposit will give us their direct deposit info, and we send it to Pennsylvania Treasury. And then what Pennsylvania Treasury does, they do what in the banking world is called a pre-note process. What that means is they send like a $0 deposit to your account just to make sure that it works, just to make sure that it's a valid account and the money can go there once we actually start making payments. So in the normal world, that just happens in the beginning of the claim. But for some reason, our Pua system is doing this multiple times for not everyone. It's just some people, but some people are being resent from our Pua system to our Pennsylvania Treasury system, like every day. And it is a problem that we are fixing. But I did just hear about it yesterday, and when we heard that individuals were receiving multiple $0 payments, and some people were contacting Treasury and thinking someone was trying to hack their account. And that's not the case. It's just a strange thing that's happening in the system. So we are trying to fix it. But I am glad that you brought that up because that is a good thing to share. Hopefully anyone else who's listening who may have been experiencing the same thing, now understands what's going on and that no one's trying to hack their account, at least that we know of. So thank you for that. And that is what's happening. So hopefully it will stop soon once we get a fix and they can stop sending the same, people's direct deposit information every day.
Our next question comes from Jim. Jim, you're live. What's your question, sir?
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call today. I'm curious if I should file a new claim considering I filed back on April 20th and haven't received my PIN or, I guess, the financial determination in the mail. I fear I may not have included like my apartment number and my address. Like I don't think there was an ability to do that online. So I'm wondering if that is the reason why I haven't, received any follow-up.
Hi, Jim. Actually, yes, that sounds like that would be the reason. So what you want to do, you wouldn't want to open a new claim because that means you already have a claim sitting there. It just has a wrong address. So you should just try to get in touch with us so we can fix your address. So you can do that by, we talked about this a little bit earlier. It is difficult these days. However, plenty of people are getting through. So if you try calling us, our 888-313-7284 number, try later in the week. So Thursdays, Fridays, those are the best times. The phone lines are open 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you have access to live chat, online access, you can try chatting with our staff. That's available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that's a good way. We have a lot of extra help now taking live chats, and that's a nice an address change is a nice simple thing for them to handle. And your other option is to send an email. It is taking us a little longer to get to emails, but at least if you send one email with the request, that makes sure that the request is there and someone will handle it. And in the meantime, maybe you can still try, live chat and trying to get through to us just to add your apartment number.
Next, let's go back to the web for a question. This one's from Kathleen. How long does a furloughed employee receive benefits?
So benefits on regular UC are paid to individuals anywhere between 18 and 26 weeks. So that is I shouldn't say it's not total weeks, it's weeks worth of money. I'll explain what I mean. So an unemployment claim is valid for an entire year. So if you open one this week, the first week in June, it's going to be valid till the end of May next year. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have enough money for the entire claim. You can't have, you're not going to have 52 weeks worth of money on that claim. It's just going to be 26 weeks at the most, which is about half a year. Now, if you're fully unemployed and you claim all of those weeks, you don't have any earnings, and you just claim week after week after week, you'll run out of money after 26 weeks on a regular UC claim. I had mentioned there's a range, 18 to 26 weeks. It has to do with how much in your base year, which is, think of a base year as like your work history, your recent work history in the past 18 months. How much of your base year that you have earned at least $116 each week. So it then is measured directly against that. And I realize I'm getting into some, intense concepts here, but this is all unemployment law. So when you have 18 credit weeks is what it's called, and a credit week is $116 a week. If you have 18 credit weeks in your base year, but no more than that, then you'll qualify for unemployment, but you're only going to get 18 weeks. And it goes week for week. So if you have 19 weeks, you'll get 19 weeks. If you have 20 credit weeks, you'll get 20 weeks, et cetera, up until 26. So 26 is the max. So if you work the entire year and you have 52 credit weeks, you actually really only get 26 weeks of benefits. So that's how regular UC works at a high level. I tried not to get too detailed, but it's hard when you're talking about unemployment. So then, because of the CARES Act programs, there's now additional weeks available. The PEUC program is an extension of 13 weeks. So it doesn't matter if you had 18 weeks or 26 weeks or anywhere in between. The additional 13 weeks is available as long as you don't qualify for a new unemployment claim. So if you can qualify for a new unemployment claim after your first one is over, you have to take the unemployment claim. But if you don't have enough of a work history and you don't qualify, then you can have your 13 weeks of PEUC. And also, we had talked a lot about the PUA program. The PUA program would be a last resort. So after you finish UC, you finish PEUC, there's nothing available for you. You could qualify for PUA, but we do have to subtract your regular eligibility from it. So you wouldn't, if you got 26 weeks of unemployment, we would take the maximum of 39 PUA weeks and subtract 26 weeks from that. So you'd have 13 weeks remaining. Yes, that gets very convoluted, but all of this is on our website. You can look at the maximum for each program and how that works and how financial eligibility works. Specifically for the PUA program, if someone is eligible for PUA, you haven't had any UC, especially a lot of our independent contractors or self-employed individuals, they can qualify for 39 weeks. So the maximum PUA is 39 weeks. And as I mentioned, if you qualified for any regular UC, we just subtract the regular UC from the PUA.
All right, we've got another question from the web. This one's submitted by Stephen, who's currently on PUA, but he knows he qualifies for PEUC. He can't file now because of backdated claim weeks. What is he supposed to do?
So for the PUA program, we are working on getting those back weeks open. So eventually that will happen. We'll make sure everyone knows about that. For PEUC, if you can qualify for PEUC, then that means you don't qualify for PUA. I had mentioned earlier the order that we have to pay things in per the federal government. So if there are any weeks where you can qualify for PEUC, you have to take those over PUA. So if you're seeking PEUC, as I mentioned earlier, right now, anyone who we have automatically set up can go in and try to file for weeks now. If your regular UC benefit year is over, you have to go in and file a PEUC claim with us, and you can do that online. So you then just have to wait till probably around like the next Sunday after you file that for us to open up the weeks for you so you can file.
Thank you very much. I'm being told we're coming to the end of this live event. I want to thank everyone for participating in today's L&I Town Hall. We appreciate the opportunity to speak directly with you and answer your questions. We do want to go to closing comments now. Let's start with Secretary Oleksiak.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you to all of you who were on the call and submitted questions. We will be doing these more regularly, as we've announced, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. Thank you, Susan, for your knowledge and expertise as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jerry, and also thank you, Susan. For Pennsylvania labor and industry updates, please visit www.uc.pa.gov. Once again, if we were unable to address your questions, please send an email to uchelp@pa.gov. A hearty thank you again to everyone for taking the time to participate in this call. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and have a wonderful day.